All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to break down something huge from Dr. Ari Massaduti, a real game changer for aesthetic medicine. We're going to explore why the most successful practices aren't going to be the ones with the newest laser or the longest list of credentials. Nope. They'll be the ones who master something most practices just completely overlook. That real, human, emotional connection.
So let's kick this off with the single most important number you need to burn into your brain. 95%. Get this. Behavioral science tells us that a massive 95% of our purchase decisions happen subconsciously. They're driven by feelings, not by logic. And think about it. In our world, in aesthetics, where choices are so personal, so vulnerable, yeah, that number isn't just important, it's everything.
So that brings us to the big question, right? A question you've really got to ask yourself. Is all your marketing, all your energy, aimed at convincing that tiny, logical 5% of your patient's brain? Or are you building a practice that actually speaks to the 95%, the part that's really in charge? Getting this right changes the entire game.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the single biggest marketing mistake out there. It's so common, and it's the main reason why even the most skilled doctors get caught in this trap, this race to the bottom on price.
It's called the About Us disease, and it's an epidemic. You see it everywhere. Clinic websites, brochures. It's all about them. Our credentials, our experience, our technology. But here's the tough love. Patients don't really care about your story. Not at first. They need to know that you care about theirs.
And this just nails the difference perfectly. The left side, that's a fact. It's rational. It's talking to the 5%. But the right side, that speaks directly to a patient's deepest fear. It instantly creates trust. You see, one of these makes you a commodity, a line item to be compared. The other makes you the only choice.
And that's because, while we're busy listing our credentials, this is the real question. This is what's really echoing in your patient's mind, unspoken. It has nothing to do with where you went to medical school. It's about vulnerability. It's about trust.
So these are the real drivers, the things that are actually making the decisions for them. That fear of looking done, that deep need to feel safe, and that powerful hope for transformation. Tapping into these is way more powerful than a fancy new laser or some 10% off deal could ever be. That's what builds loyalty that lasts.
So, here's the big shift, the real game changer. You've got to stop selling procedures, stop selling technology. You have to start selling feelings. You're moving from just being a technical provider to becoming a partner in their transformation. Big difference.
So how do you actually do this? Well, there's a strategy for it. It's called emotional benefit mapping. And it's a very deliberate process. You figure out what your patients are really feeling, their hopes, their fears, and then you rewrite everything. And I mean everything. Your website, your ads, how you talk in the consultation room, to speak directly to that feeling first.
Just look at the difference here. FDA-approved neurotoxins. That's cold. It's technical. It doesn't inspire anyone. But reclaim the vibrant version of yourself? Wow, that's a promise. It's not about the tool, it's about the outcome. And that is why they came to see you in the first place.
This right here, this is the new playbook for top-tier practices. Look, your patients have no idea if your laser is 10% better than the one down the street. They can't tell. But what they are experts in, how you make them feel. Your real advantage is your ability to make them feel safe, understood, and hopeful.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? Let's get practical. We're going to walk through some frameworks you can literally start using in your practice tomorrow to see a real shift.
This is so simple but so powerful. Before you do anything big, a new marketing campaign, a website change, just stop and ask these 3 questions. And be specific. You're not just solving wrinkles, you're solving the frustration of looking tired. And for number 2, don't just stop at happy. Dig deeper. Do they want to feel seen, confident, unburdened? This becomes your North Star.
Let me give you a killer example of this in action. A clinic in London realized their high-end clients weren't driven by beauty, but by social safety, that fear of being judged. So they redesigned their entire experience around it. A separate entrance, special lighting, everything. And the result? Staggering. We're talking triple the patient lifetime value of a typical practice. Why? Because they weren't selling procedures, they were selling safety.
And let's be crystal clear. This isn't just some feel-good, fluffy stuff. This is about building a more profitable, more resilient, and frankly, a more defensible business. And you can prove it with hard numbers as long as you start measuring the right things.
It's time to stop obsessing over the old Net Promoter Score. Would you recommend us? It just doesn't tell the whole story. You need to start tracking an emotional NPS. Instead, you ask them to choose a word that describes their visit. Did they feel understood, confident, safe, or rushed? Now that's data you can work with.
These right here, these are the numbers that are going to separate the good practices from the extraordinary ones in the next few years. Start tracking the percentage of your reviews that use emotional words like cared for. And you got to track how often a patient says yes to your full vision for them, not just a one-off treatment. That's where emotion turns into revenue.
And what's the payoff for all this? Well, it's huge. The data doesn't lie. Patients who feel that real emotional connection are 67% more likely to say yes to a full, comprehensive treatment plan. That's how you stop being a one-time service provider and become a lifelong partner for your patients.
Okay, so if you want to take this to the absolute highest level, it's all about personalization. You've got to understand that different patients have different emotional triggers. The natural enhancer is terrified of looking fake. The perfectionist is obsessed with tiny details. When you can tailor your conversation to their specific archetype, well, that's when the magic really happens.
So what's the bottom line here? The market is getting more and more crowded, right? But here's the secret. Almost all your competitors are still playing the old game. They're talking about features and facts. This gives you an incredible opening to stop competing for patients and start commanding their desire.
So, at the end of the day, it really comes down to a choice. You can keep doing what everyone else is doing, marketing your skills and your technology, or you can talk to the 95% of the brain that's actually in charge. You can build a practice that sells the one thing your patients are truly desperate for, a real transformation. The choice is yours.